Hello, welcome to CDH Budget Brews. I'm Brandon. Tonight, Tim joins me on talking about some more $100 budget deck techs that we've been going over lately. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Rielle. But before we start, if you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. That really helps. And check out our Patreon. Links are in the description. And let's go ahead and get going. Rielle is a 3-drop commander, a generic, a blue, and a red. She's a 0/3 human wizard that says she gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery and grave. And whenever you discard one or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. So this deck is built to abuse that second line of text, discarding the cards and then drawing that many cards. And the way we do that mainly is through our sorceries. Our instants and
Okay.
sorcery suite are crazy. So before I get into that, let me tell you what the win conditions are, the extra options we have, and then we can continue with the cards that are going to give us the advantage. Our main win condition is going to be Glinthorn Buccaneer with a Curiosity effect.
Okay.
So we have Tandem Lookout right here, and then we have actual Curiosity down here. And essentially, the whole game plan is to get 8 cards in hand, go to end step, and then start discarding and killing everybody.
Okay.
If you can't get Glinthorn on field, we also have Braylon just to be safe. Here's a little bit of backup, and then we also have the Underworld Breach line. So we run Underworld Breach, Lotus Petal, and Brain Freeze
Okay.
to essentially mill yourself out and go, or mill your opponents out, excuse me, and go for the win, because we are not running Thassa's Oracle on here. Back to the discarding and drawing cards. So, for instance, Magus of the Bazaar, one of my personal favorite creatures in this deck. Says it's so bad, but in this deck it's so good because you just draw the 2, the discard 3, and then draw 3 more. So it's essentially tap, draw 5, no problem, and
Well,
you
let's
could do
draw
it at
5,
instant
discard
speed.
2 or 3.
I mean, yeah, but it's just so much advantage in one card, and it's reusable. So you could use it. You could do your own stuff, right? Like, let's say you wheel for your turn, and then on your opponent's turn, you Magus of the Bazaar. And one of the best parts about this deck is just how much cards you see. You're eventually going to
Right.
win through sheer statistics. And then you have things like Careful Study, which one of my favorite parts about this deck is that you take bad cards and make them good.
Yeah.
Of course, we run Windfall and Wheel of Misfortune. Your wheels are probably going to be your strongest win cons, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
just from the sheer amount of cards you see. There have been times where I've wheeled one time and won because of it.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, we have Breakthrough, we have Burning Inquiry, which is another really really good card that you can loop with Underworld Breach.
Mm-hmm.
We have Cathartic Reunion, and so Grape Shot is one that you don't use often, but when it does come up, it's super super good.
Right. It is.
And then we go down to generic good stuff. We have a Braid, we have the Brainstorms. You want to discard cards, even if you pay 4 for it, it's pretty strong. Foil is kind of my secret tech in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically a terrible card, let's be real. But being able to
Yeah.
discard that island, draw a card from it, and still counter someone's spell, with the sheer amount of cards you're going to be seeing, you're almost always going to have an island in hand. We do run High Tide in here and things like Frantic Search to benefit from High Tide. Also, we do have the Isochron Scepter line. I almost forgot about that. Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal. That one doesn't come up nearly as much, but it's definitely important when it does come up for things like Brain Freeze and Grape Shot.
Right. To make sure you have enough mana.
Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of these cards typically not very good. Like Forbid, almost always never seen play. Rights of
Not so.
Refusal.
Yeah. What does that do?
Discard any number of cards from your hand to counter target spell unless it plays 3 for each card discarded this way. So if you just have a handful of land, you just discard all
Mm-hmm.
your lands, counter the spell, and then draw that many cards back. It's kind of broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you have things like Red Elemental Blast and Power Blast, and you're not going against other blue decks, you can just get rid of them. We do also have things like Desperate Ritual. We don't run a lot of ritual effects. Like we have Pyretic Ritual, Desperate Ritual. I think we have Rite of Flame. Yeah.
Yep, we have Red Flame.
And essentially, what I use these for the most is to get out past In Flames, so I can start looping my spells some more from Grave.
Okay.
I mean, generic artifact suite, right? Arcane Signet, Izzet, Lotus Petal, Mind Stone, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We want to try to get Rielle down as fast as possible. Teferi's Ageless Insight is actually the best the best card in the deck, because you get a lot of card advantage in this deck, and being able to quite literally double it makes it super, super important.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you Wheel of Misfortune, you discard a hand of 6, you draw 7, and then Teferi's Ageless Insight will make you, instead of draw 7, you draw 14, plus an additional 12 from the 6 you discarded. That's like 24 cards?
Something like that.
In one wheel, you immediately draw a quarter of your deck, and then tell me you don't win from there, right?
You should.
I mean, we have, right? Actually, you should. We have kind of, generic good stuff lands. We have Mystic Sanctuary, Shivan Reef, the Izzet Boilerworks, Sifwater Cliff, stuff like that. So we also run the Lonely Sandbar and Forgotten Cave. Again, cycle, discarding a land, drawing essentially 2 cards from it. And then Desolate Lighthouse. This one I don't use as much personally, just because I don't like having to pay that 3. But if you're really, hurting for some card advantage for some reason, which you shouldn't, but in case you are, then this card is pretty good.
There's an option for you.
For sure. Of course, we run the Narset. If we could run Rest in Peace, my boy. What's his name? He was banned a commander because he was too good. Whenever you wield, you could get treasures instead of. He's like Notion Thief, but mono
Breacher.
Hull Breacher. Thank you. Rest in peace, my boy Hull Breacher, because he would be amazing in this deck.
He would be pretty good.
One of the downsides of this deck, I guess you could say, is you're essentially running a lot of bad cards, right? So if Rielle gets taken off the board, you're going to be running at a lot of disadvantage.
Yeah, you wind up spinning your wheels a lot, not so much like getting ahead.
Exactly. So if your opponents are smart, they would want to aim for her more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can keep her on for even a few turns, then you just get so much advantage. Mm-hmm. And another thing is that this deck is super, super hungry for mana pips. So if you don't have a way to generate a lot of mana rather quickly, which is again why we're running the rituals and the high tide and stuff.
Yep.
But if you can't just generate a lot of mana, you kind of slow yourself down for just how mana hungry this deck is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions, Tim?
I don't, but I've got some suggestions when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
So since we're at that point, so the first one I wanted to bring up was actually Harmonic Prodigy. So one, it'll give you double triggers off of Rielle, and it's a 1/3 for 2. It will also trigger off of any other triggered abilities off of any other wizards or shamans in your deck will trigger as well. So I noticed you're running Shabraz. Those will trigger 2 times off of the Harmonic Prodigy as well as Rielle. And it's a 2-drop, so it's good at blocking smallish creatures. Due to the prowess, it can kind of help pick up the slack on blocking and contesting the board. All right. 2, there are 3 cards that have good discard abilities. 1 is Ash Barrens, which will allow you to basic land cycle. So you'll discard it and then go get whatever basic you need, helps you fix your colors. You'll draw a card off of it with Rielle in play. The next one is it's called Teleria West. Again, it's a land with transmute that will allow you to tutor for a 0-drop card and then put it into your hand. So you'll draw a card and then go tutor for a 0-drop. So like if you happen to be running like something like Tormod's Crypt, or maybe you get like a Mox or something, like a Mox Amber or a Mox Opal, like when you're upgrading, that might be useful. Another one that I think you should probably run in this list is Muddle the Mixture, which I did not see.
No, I did not have it on this list.
Well, so what's nice about that is you have a lot of relevant 2-drops to go get, and that will allow you to go find them, plus gain some card advantage. There's also Teferi, Master of Time might be a good one to include. Again, that would probably require a little bit of like budget consideration. Particularly the thing that's nice about Teferi is that you can use his ability at instant speed on your opponent's turns. So you can, discard a card, draw 2, draw a card, discard a card, and then you draw another card. So it'll give you extra versions, like it'll give you like incremental value in case you just happen to like get Rielle removed and stick it again mid-game. It also will phase out creatures to help you protect itself as well. And then worst case scenario is you can start taking extra turns. So that's then there's a couple of like smaller ones to consider. There's like some actual like some probably that are like slightly upgraded cycling cards. Startling Development is one. So Startling Development is 1 blue, 1 colorless, and then until end of turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power 4/4. So at minimum, it can turn something like Rielle into a 4/4, and then she pumps also. And since it's an instant, you can kind of use it as a combat trick. It cycles for 1 colorless, so you can pitch it and draw a card. Also, another one to consider is Frostveil Ambush. It's tap up to 2 target creatures, and then they don't untap during the controller's next untap step. It's cycling for 1 colorless, which I've noticed that a lot of these decks tend to overproduce on colorless quite a bit. You're already on Misdirection. So another one to consider would be Stubborn Denial, as you basically, as long as you have like 3 instants of sorceries in your graveyard, and I'm pretty much assuming that this deck is going to hit that metric pretty fast, you will have it online. And then the next one is Bolt Bend. So Bolt Bend will allow you to protect Rielle. Much like from my experience with Paco, the redirect effects are uber important in this type of a format where like slim interaction is hard to come by, and being able to just like divert it away from you and hit something else is infinitely like useful. And then lastly, there's a card called Boon of the Wish Giver. It's a 6-drop, blue and 4. It allows you to draw 4 cards, and then also has cycling of 1. So the reason why I was kind of suggesting these, particularly these 1-drop cycling cards that are for 1 colorless, is that I think that these can be some cheap upgrades for some of the more clunky slots that you have. Like Cathartic Reunion, or I don't know, maybe Conflagrate, just as an example. Like, I'm not saying that definitive, or like this like Channeled Force might be a little, like that's a little clunky. Counterflux is a little clunky, because that's really pip intensive. Yeah. And one of the big things, kind of while we're on the topic, one of the big things with making a deck more competitive versus like it being a casual deck is to streamline out as much of those pip requirements as possible. So what you want to do is, instead of having like cards that are like blue, red, or red and blue, you try to find one that's 1 red or 1 blue, or maybe it's like a blue and 2 colorless, because those are easier to cast. So whereas if you're like, let's say like you're trying to play like Counterflux, for example, like having double blue and a red open to interact versus having and then doing anything else relevant with it is kind of pretty challenging. You know what I mean? I'm not
Yeah.
saying it can't be done. I'm just saying, like, if it's early in the game, like, and that's the only counter spell you got in your hand, like, you can't do anything because you need 3 colored pips to use it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, those are like some things to kind of maybe think about from like a optimization, like from a streamlining standpoint. I don't know. Probably the big one though is that the Prodigy. I think that's like probably something you should slot in for sure. And then the other ones are kind of like softs, like anywhere from like moderate to soft suggestions. Like probably if I was to say the biggest ones to add, at least in my opinion, would be the Prodigy, the Stubborn Denial, the Bolt Bend, and then probably the Ash Barons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Muddle's good. It's $5. Oh, and one last thing. Take out that Swiftwater Cliffs and put it in the Scryland. The temple.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's only 80 cents now. They used to be like $3. If you put in Temple of, it'll come up.
Let me move that back to the main board. I forgot about.
Well, they went down in price all of a sudden because I thought they were like $3 too. So that's why I never ran them. But,
yeah.
But Rielle's fun and it will clap.
Also, one thing I forgot to mention that you did touch on. Once you get late in the game, just swinging with a 40 attack, 3 toughness Rielle can also win you the game.
Oh, beating people to death with Rielle is a thing.
Yeah, there are people who I've seen a couple of decks here and there that like really go deep on protecting her whenever she does get big, so that way she can just swing for game.
Yeah. Well, that was all I had.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down in the comments below. And I hope to see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.